Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Pod at the Palace, the final regular season episode of the Pod at the Palace. It's kind of crazy.
Feels like we just
Scotty?
started it.
I know. It's nuts, and thankfully, it's one of those times where we get to do this show after a win. That's nice. It's kind of weird how rare that's been since we've started this program. And then, after that, the next time we record, I don't know, maybe it will be here, maybe it'll be in Nashville, maybe both. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Arkansas won a basketball game last night. It's been a rough season in Bud Walton Arena for the Razorbacks, but they ended it on a decent note, 94-83 over LSU. A little bit of get-back game action. They got beat down in Baton Rouge and took care of business against the Tigers last night. And it felt to me, Scotty, like a game where Arkansas just kind of did exactly what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me how the same teams can play each other twice and there's like a 32-point differential.
Right.
Just because of where the game was played. But the top thing I wrote about, I don't like to pat myself on the back or honk my own horn or whatever, but the top thing I wrote about in the 4-point play was Will Baker, because he destroyed Arkansas in Baton Rouge. And then
who?
Yeah, and then, I mean, as Jeremiah Davenport said after the game, he was like, that was all luck.
That was luck.
Based on how he played last night, he might not be wrong. Because Will Baker may never have another game like that again.
Yeah, dude.
They basically made him a non-factor.
3 points, 1 of 4 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 1 of 3 from the free throw line. He was shook. 2 rebounds. He did nothing.
He quietly get in foul trouble?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he got 2 fouls in the first half and had to sit for a minute. And then, he picked up his 4th at some point there. I felt like every time I looked up, I saw the other tall white guy on their team that was out there on the floor.
Yeah, the kid that I
him.
said on the live stream looked like a Proud Boy.
Yes, exactly. That's the guy.
Around. But I thought Arkansas early in the game, LSU tried to get the ball into Baker on the interior, and I thought Arkansas did a really good job with just being active around him. Help defenders were digging down and knocking balls away that led to steals, that led to fast break points. That I think got Arkansas off to a somewhat decent start offensively and defensively for that matter. Really good job just making him a non-factor. Like Jordan Wright, he kind of did what he pleased, but he's a free throw merchant basically. But I will give Jeremiah Davenport, who I know we're going to talk about extensively, hopefully on this pod.
Yes, sir.
I thought Jeremiah Davenport did a pretty good job playing, a small ball 4 for Arkansas, and I had him giving up 2 buckets on 9 shots defended.
That's good for him.
That's great work.
That's good for anyone, but
great work from JD especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man. I thought they made some good adjustments. I mean, they still gave up 83 points, but it felt a heck of a lot different than however many they gave up the last time in Baton Rouge. And it looks like they had a game plan and they executed it well. And the offense was humming again, man. I mean, 60.8% from the field. They didn't shoot the cover off of them from 3, 5 of 16. That's about par for the course for this team. Got to the free throw line 33 times, knocked down 27 of them. I think what impressed me most about Arkansas offensively, 2 things. One, I thought they ran the floor really hard and really well. They look good in transition. There's been times this year where they've had numbers on the break, and I'm not talking about like a 4-on-3. I'm talking about like 3-on-1 or 4-on-1, and they just don't get anything out of it.
It's like a disaster.
It's been maddening, and I remember earlier in the season, like pre-SEC play, early SEC play, where I'd be screaming for them to run, push it, to the point where the tempo had dropped so much I was asking Muss about it, and he's like, dude, we're not telling them not to run, okay? Like, we want to push the basketball, and finally they were doing that. They got some leak-out buckets and just kind of beat LSU down the floor in transition. It's usually the inverse, where Arkansas is a team that's getting beat down the floor in transition, so that was nice to see for a change. It was a small crowd. I think, to put it mildly, I get it, given the circumstances. But it was nice to see them get a win in their last home game, especially for those seniors and several of them. And we can start with Jeremiah Davenport, played huge roles in this game. JD, everything we said about him when we did senior shout-outs, like, he exhibited every one of those traits in the game, man. It was so cool to see that. I just love that kid, man. He his energy. You mentioned the word joy a couple times in the press conference, and that's just what stands out so much about him. The dude is infectious, man. Like, I can't get enough of Jeremiah Davenport.
Yeah, and while we're leading off talking about him, he had 5, 5, and 4.
It's worthy.
But yeah, I mean, he played a season high 28 minutes, and those minutes were action packed.
Yeah, guarded his tail off, like you said.
Made one shot in each half. I thought the 3 initially when he took it, I thought it was going to get blocked from the top of the key.
Right with a hand in his face.
But that ball did not touch any bit of the rim whatsoever. I think that put him up 9. And then second half, Arkansas's, LSU gets it within like 6 or 8 points, and then Arkansas goes on a little run, and JD had a offensive rebound and putback that was really big, and Eric gave him kudos after the game for what he called rebounding through the elbows.
Yes.
JD does a good job of that, and Eric just went on and on and on about JD, like on a human level, which I appreciated because I asked him specifically about that, just what it's been like to coach him and be around him. And then just rebounding through the elbows was big, and Eric was like, "Yeah, this dude's gotten several big offensive rebounds for us in the past," and commend him for that. And then the assists too. 4 assists led to 8 points, went to, I think, 2 different teammates. 3 of them went for dunks.
Yeah.
And so that's really good work.
He did such a great job just being the middleman in that zone. The drop-off that he had, I remember, to TB was really nice. I guess both of them were to TB,
good to
right?
see TB
Both of
cut off the
TB's
ball.
dunks. Yeah. How about that? So... he looked really good in a number of ways, and it's just impressive that he's able to leave such a lasting impression when he scores 5 points.
Yeah,
and I think you nailed it. You wrote about him, and it was perfectly done.
I think I wrote that after every one of his assists, he celebrated like he was the one who was getting credited with the points.
Yeah,
that's JD in a nutshell, dude. He's more excited probably sharing the ball and seeing somebody else score than him scoring himself, and we know he gets super hyped up when he gets buckets. Yeah,
Khalif Battle cracked me up in the post game when he was talking about that. He was like, sometimes I feel like it's a play that he's more hyped about than he needs to be or whatever, but it gets everybody else going, and that's what they need. His we can move on to another senior here that I just want to touch on briefly, but he is Jeremiah Davenport, the vibe coordinator of the team, and his reaction to and the bench reaction as a whole to Chandler Lawson's just absolute body of of Trey Hannibal. That was
rude.
Yes, your tweet was tremendous, by the way, after that about the funeral and respecting the family. I mean, he just got... I don't know why he decided he needed to jump on that. As soon as Chandler Lawson got the ball on the wing and you could tell he was starting to gather, I was looking at Trey Hannibal, trying to come into that play, and I'm like, dude, don't do it. Do not do it. You do not want to jump it, and he did, and he paid the price for it. Hell of a dunk, and that was a 7 point in a row swing there for Chandler Lawson. Right. Very cool to see because he's had his ups and downs. He's been, kind of a constant presence in the starting lineup, one of 2 guys who's played in every game on this roster. But he's gone very quiet in a lot of games, and for him to have that outburst there on senior day, pretty cool.
Yeah, that scoring run that he went on was pretty neat to see. And it's just it's funny to me like how random those scoring spurts can be, because he'll just he didn't do anything else hardly.
Nope.
At all in the game other than that little stretch right there. But yeah, came away with 2 steals, and you mentioned how he's been available all year. Best ability is availability.
Yeah, man.
And he's been, not a guy that you're probably going to count on for a ton of production every night, but he's going to be there, and he's going to potentially have an impact in a game, and that's, can't say that for everybody,
right?
Honestly. So yeah, shout out to Claude. It was pretty cool. I wish I would have asked JD and KB about the dunk, because you would have gotten something insane, quote wise from them.
Yeah,
that was a total missed opportunity on my part. But JD celebrated. I'm sure KB was like,
"Yeah, dude."
He just witnessed a murder.
Yeah, that was something, man. Shout out to Trey Hannibal for continuing to play the rest of the game. He's a warrior.
Yeah.
Somebody, I tweeted out the video that they put out about it, and it was just like, on his head or whatever. But somebody responded to the tweet and said, couldn't have happened to a worse human being. I don't know if Trey Hannibal's a bad guy or what, but boy, he paid for it. L. Ellis, another senior.
Nice night.
Hell of a game, man. 16 points. He was 6 of 7 from the field, knocked down both of his 3-point attempts. He had 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Was coming away with some steals on the defensive end. But we got to get his ass out of town. He had 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Can't have it.
Can't happen, man. I'm sure that's what the haters will say.
I get it, because I'm like, what was it, the end of half? Or that was T-Mark. That was a T-Mark turnover. Never mind.
Still bad.
But I'm sure L left his feet at some point, made a pass, turned the ball over.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, L was good. He kind of snuck up on me with the 6 boards. Didn't expect that. That was like second most on the team. 3 steals. Had a block too. What else do you want? Like,
solid.
Like you said after when we were doing the post Vanderbilt loss pod, you're like, what do you want from us? It's like, what do you want from L?
What do you want from him, man?
You can't go back and get any games, but like he's still hanging in, and he basically went out and played exactly the way, not that we thought he would, but we hoped he would.
Yeah.
And he's, as of late, he's been getting a lot of run, and he's been playing well.
Yeah, if you go get that kind of game from L and in Nashville, and you're going to be in position to win
for sure,
and that's all you can ask for. Hello, Mekhi Mitchell. Holy crap, man! He unloaded in this game. Really went on a tear there. 19 points. He was 8 of 10 from the field, 8 boards, so just missed a double-double. Gosh, man, like when you get that version of Mekhi Mitchell, you're hard to beat.
Tough team to beat.
Tough team to beat. And when it's coupled with that version of L. Ellis, because I think you've got some guys that you feel like you can count on for some consistency at this point. But when you have, man, Mekhi and L producing like that, that's good stuff, man.
Eric said Mekhi basically played a flawless offensive game. In the post game.
Outside of his 3 turnovers, I don't disagree.
Yeah, I didn't even look at the turnovers.
He was phenomenal, man. Yeah. He was really good.
He was. It's another one of those games where, it doesn't feel like, let me go through his game log. Yeah, so he had the stinker against Vanderbilt, and then kind of quietly, I don't know how quiet it was at Kentucky, but finished with 13 and 4. Just kind of like, nice, helped you stay in the game, but it wasn't like you weren't walking away from that game going, man, Kai played his tail off or whatever. Last night he did. 8 boards, 3 blocks. Arkansas blocked 10 shots, I believe, for the first time since the Furman game, 4th time this season. And so Kai had a hand in that. JD had a hand in that. Khalif Battle. Khalif Battle did. L did. Like basically everybody. But you mentioned like this team's tough to beat when you get this version of Mekhi, this version of L. Think about all the other stuff too, like that version of KB, which we've kind of grown accustomed to. That version of T-Mark where he was like kind of understood that his shot wasn't working, so he hit the glass hard, had 8 boards, found others, 5 assists. Which that's going to probably be a lifetime high. 5 assists and blocked 2 shots. That team is hard to beat.
Yeah, it is.
It'll be hard to beat. Like that LSU team, granted they were missing, arguably their best player, the leading scorer. That Arkansas team can beat a lot of teams. Absolutely.
And we'll talk about Battle more in depth here in just a second, but people were probably listening and wondering like, why are they running through every one of the guys' performances after beating LSU? Like, who cares? Well, point being, a lot of these guys are seniors whose college career is coming to a close, and they're playing like it. And they're starting to play with a little bit of urgency.
Absolutely.
And, especially guys like JD and L. Ellis and Mekhi Mitchell, if you get that kind of edge from those guys, that's part of the ingredients. Like, it's part of the recipe that you need to go do some damage in Nashville, because that's the only way you can extend your season.
Yeah.
And we saw that last night, and maybe it'll carry into Saturday, and you'll get a similar effort against Alabama. It doesn't mean you'll beat them, but if you get that type of play from those guys, you're going to be in position to, whether you're there or not, whether they hit a bunch of threes or not. And so it's really nice to see, especially you mentioned with Mark, played kind of a complete floor game. But yeah, like he didn't go out there and score his typical points. He was about half of his season average, and you didn't need him.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys are capable of doing. But Khalif Battle, off night, 29 points. Come on, dude.
I love that. One of maybe my favorite thing from the night, Jeremiah Davenport related, was like, I've never been with a guy that scored 30 plus points in 4 straight games. And then Mike Kaywood was like, JD, he finished with 29. He basically was like, no, I'm rounding up. That counts. 29 is close enough to 30. That counts. And then he gave another quote about, I've never had a teammate go on a tear like that. But KB's just he's been unreal. And I think I said after he finished that first layup, he dug down on Baker, popped the ball loose, kicked it ahead in transition. He finished with the left hand. Like, yeah, he's going for 30 again.
Dude.
And he got real close.
Yeah. Well, if he would have just made his free throw.
Yeah, dude, just make all 14 of your free throws.
Yeah,
and
come on, man.
There. Yeah.
Leaving points on the board there. But yeah, just so efficient. I mean, 7 of 14, so he's 50% from the field. Knocks down a couple threes. 13 of 14 from the line. Just what he's doing right now. It just on one hand, it's just so cool to watch, and it's just really enjoyable to watch. And it gives you a little bit of optimism that like you got a guy who's going to give you 30 or 29. And you can rely on that, then you feel pretty good about your opportunity to stay in games next week. But at the same time, you're like, damn, bro. Like, where was that, man? Because maybe we would be in a Wednesday night sadness situation if this was a thing all year.
For sure.
But it clicks for everybody at different times. And I thought, and you wrote about Jeremiah, and I wrote about Khalif, and I was just really blown away with some of the comments that he made. There's just a lot of power behind his words, and he's always been a great quote.
No doubt.
But just, when he was talking about, we didn't know what it meant to be a Razorback when we got here, and it's just different. And it's, he's kind of talking about just having to adapt and understand what that means. And he was talking about his competitiveness compared to Eric Musselman's competitiveness, and how they're similar from that standpoint, and how Musk called those guys in and gave them a lot of confidence finally by saying, hey, I'm gonna rock with you guys no matter what. Just go out there and play like you're capable of. And it seems like that might have been the moment where the switch kind of flipped for KB, and the way that he's playing through some injuries right now, but you're not going to get him off of that floor because he's dealt with that before. The record's not indicative of the way the team loves each other,
right? And
how close they are and how connected they are. All those things he was saying, I was like, damn, man, go play again now.
I wouldn't have been mad at all if your story had just been ranking Khalif Battle's quotes.
Ooh, man, he had some bangers, dude.
Yeah, he's great. Like I've said this several times, but like instantly when he walks into the post-game interview room, everybody's stories get better.
Yep. Oh, 100%,
he's one of those guys, and he's dropping, wisdom nuggets from his late grandmother, or talking about his upbringing or what drives him. And he's got, he is 23, so he's lived a little bit more than these other guys, and I think he's gained perspective. He's had a long college career. I think he's grown up a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks plus,
to the point where we've had a lot of conversations about who's going to stay, who's going to go for next year. And I think obviously we both would like to see Khalif Battle come back. But I don't think we were sold on, but build your team around him. He's selling me, man. And it's not just because of what he's doing on the floor, and it's obviously very nice. But he sounds like a leader. And I don't know that I could have said that about him earlier in the year. Yeah. And I know some guys can, talk the talk without being able to walk it, or they say some things and you see certain things with their body language that maybe contradict it, which is the case with Battle earlier in the year. But now you're kind of seeing it all come together for him, and hell yeah, brother, come on back. I would love that. And I know he was doing the tease with people, last night, and that's why I put the topic here on our graphic. Like, could Khalif Battle really run it back? And I liked his statement of I'm a Razorback and I'm here. I'm a Razorback until the end. Well, when is the end?
Right.
That could be in a week.
That's open for interpretation.
Could be next season. I know he said on the riding around thing that he's coming back, but it's kind of like Muss said when he was kind of pressed about it after the game. Like, you wait until the season's over and you think things through, you evaluate it, and you make an informed decision. But I agree with him. Khalif Battle looks like a dude that's happy being at Arkansas and being a Razorback.
Yeah.
And now I can confidently say that the coaching staff seems like they're pretty pleased with what they're getting out of him, and on and off the floor.
Yeah, and it's not just scoring the ball either. It's, you mentioned it. You said it to me on just like some random defensive possession. You're just like, man, it's nice to see KB sitting down and, willingly guarding somebody and like wanting to. You could see the want to. When he's down in that defensive stance, he's taking a lot of pride in it. And I love it that, like, unprompted, KB will, like, people can say whatever they want about my defense or whatever, but I take a lot of pride in them. Like, I asked you after the Purdue exhibition, I was like, you look like you want to sit down and defend. Mm-hmm. It's just got to be a consistent deal, and it has been more lately. I would love it if KB came back. Obviously, that would be – I mean, you brought it up on the last pod, like he could be potentially a preseason All-America type guy, preseason Conference Player of the Year, depending on, what other players come into the league in the offseason. But I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy. I just don't see it. Like, he's never going to be hotter than he is right now. Mm-hmm. And he's making people take notice nightly.
Yeah. Well, he already had to put out a tweet for clarification.
Yeah. But please, by all means, come back for us.
Worried about Alabama in the tournament. We're worried about the future later.
We got a nice comfy seat over here if you want to come back and come chop it up with us.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, I think the best advice I could give everybody out there is just enjoy the ride while it lasts.
Yeah.
With KB. Enjoy the rest of the season and then worry about the rest of it later, because that's what he's encouraging you to do, and it's probably the healthy approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The last thing you need to do is...
so many buddies today text me, like, what did you make of what KB said last night? What do you think's going to happen? And I basically just laid out to them what I just said. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
But if he is handed the keys, like if he's promised the keys next year, it might take a minute to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see, man.
Would love that.
See what that bag looks like.
If he comes back, it'll be Khalif Battle.
God, that was a good one. Oh, man. Well, right now, Khalif Battle is focused on Alabama. He made that pretty clear in his tweet, which is an interesting matchup. And it sucks, man, because when the schedule was released, you're kind of wondering if maybe this would be a regular season finale that could decide the regular season title in the SEC, or have some big implications, between these two teams. And so that's not going to be the case. In fact, Alabama's, kind of on the downswing. They've lost 2 games in a row. They're hemorrhaging points. They also score them at a very high clip. So expect a Kentucky-type game. Arkansas, obviously, 6-11 in the league, tied into Wednesday sadness there. But this is, whether people want to admit it or not, from a basketball standpoint, it is a rivalry. These two teams do not like each other.
Absolutely.
The coaches do not like each other.
Absolutely.
Don't let them tell you any differently. Okay?
I don't think either one of them would tell you differently.
Nope. And so the bad blood makes it intriguing to me. And there are some fascinating storylines that are involved too. I mean, you think about Grant Nelson, who's starting for Alabama, having a pretty good year, obviously a very important cog for them. Arkansas wanted that dude.
Yeah.
He visited. Right after he visited Alabama, he chose the Tide. That pissed a lot of people off around here.
Folks were hacking into airports cams just to see if he was actually at XNA, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a wild time.
Oh, it was crazy. And even before Grant Nelson hit the portal, people were calling him a hog, and fairly so because of a lot of the connections there with the Summit League.
Yeah.
Arkansas having played them and seen him, up close and personal. Some of the glowing things that Muss had to say about Grant Nelson after that game. So you thought, if Arkansas really pursued heavily, that they would have a chance to get him. And they did have a chance to get him, but they were behind a little bit because, quite frankly, they thought they had Ron Holland. And maybe they didn't pursue as hard because you couldn't take both of those guys. Mm-hmm. And so they made a push, came up short, whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic involved there.
There's no doubt. I remember when I thought it was, in my old job, I was getting told by a recruiting guy that it was like a real possibility. Mm-hmm. And so I'm driving up I-49 with Mal in the passenger seat where, we've got date night up at Local Lime, and it's raining cats and dogs. And I'd reached out to a writer that had covered Grant Nelson. Was like, I'm ready to talk to you. Like, any insight that you got, hit me with it, because I'm ready to transcribe this and get a commitment analysis ready. And it never happened. Mm-hmm. He would have been a really fun player to cover. I've watched him several times this year. Sometimes he can be just incredibly frustrating to watch.
Yep.
And then there are other times where he's just like, I can't believe he's still in college, mm-hmm. type of deal. So whoever gets the matchup with him, good luck. But I think you could also, do some things to irritate him, maybe throw him off his game a bit.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I hope that we get the camera all the way through the handshake line. I just want to see if him and Muss have a nice embrace, or what that looks like.
Yeah.
But it's also going to be funny because I think that's probably Alabama's senior night or senior day. So it'll be senior day against the school that you could have gone to, So mm-hmm. It's just going to be interesting to keep an eye on that. And then you mentioned before we started recording, he ain't the only one, man. Aaron Estrada.
Yes, a deep cut.
Ooh, buddy. The transfer point guard there for Alabama, he's having a good year, and boy, he had a good game against the Hogs in the past.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the name, just check out the Hofstra box score. He almost went for a triple-double down in North Little Rock. That was a wild one.
Yeah, he was really good in that game. Second
best player on the floor that night to Bebe.
That is correct. That is a fact. Oh, man. And he was a guy definitely, for a lot of the reasons why like guys behind you were on the board. When Estrada hit the portal, I was like, they're going to be all over him. Yeah. And I don't know that there was ever any real traction there.
Interesting.
I can't, man, where was it? I think it was a Big East school. Oh, Cincinnati was a school that was really heavy on him, and then he went down to Alabama for that visit, and he shut it down. So,
wow,
hell of a pickup for Nate Oates. Couple of them in the transfer portal.
Yeah, to go with Mark Spears.
Mm-hmm. Sears, yeah, coming back, and he's had a heck of a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like one of the league's leading scorers. It's crazy.
Yeah,
talk about a free throw merchant.
Yeah, no kidding. And they really don't defend. At all. Actually, they try sometimes, but I mean, what they give up 117 to Kentucky, I think like 105 to Florida.
105 to Florida. Yeah. 88 to Ole Miss.
They don't have Chikwu and Clowney and those guys aren't in the post anymore.
It's Nick Pringle.
Yeah, exactly. Or is Grant Nelson playing a small ball 5, which is like putting Trevin Brazile at the 5. So
yeah, like the other 6'10" kid that they have plays like Joseph Pinion.
Yeah.
Like he's a 6'10" spot-up shooter.
Yep. Yeah, he is, and he is a reclass freshman. So he's like a 17-year-old freshman.
Sam Walters, by the way, if you're wondering, he's got a strap on him, shooting almost 41% from deep this year.
Yeah, and they do shoot that thing. Are they? Where are they at in the country in 3-point percentage?
They are 30th.
Okay,
they're third in SEC games.
First in makes.
It's kind of in that same vein. This game's going to be interesting because Arkansas, in terms of like 3-point attempts divided by their field goal attempts, last in the league.
Yep.
Alabama, first in the league.
Yep.
So that's going to be It'll be interesting. If you like threes and you like layups and free throws, this will be the game for you.
Yeah, they're going to shoot a crap ton of threes no matter what. And for Arkansas, it's can you exploit them in transition? Because sometimes teams that play fast offensively struggle on the defensive end in terms of getting back. Can you exploit them there? And can you make up for the difference? Because they're going to make more threes than you are by getting to the free throw line. Getting to the stripe, knocking down free throws. Arkansas has been really good at it, and they're going to need to continue to if they're going to keep pace in this game.
Alabama, number 1 in the country in offensive efficiency, 127.2 points per 100 possessions. Top 10 in 2-point field goal percentage, number 7 in free throw percentage. So the blueprint is right there. Like, you know what they want to do.
Yep.
If somebody pulls up for a mid-range jumper, they spontaneously combust.
Correct.
And so does Nate Oates.
Yes. Yes. How would we rank Nate Oates' game day attire?
I think he looks sharp.
Sometimes his jackets are a little much for me.
The yellow one?
Yeah.
Not just, I'm on the record, not good.
Right. But I mess with the Clark Griswold look from time to time, and he's got that going on.
I remember watching an Alabama game before our launch party back in, was that February, I guess?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want a suit jacket like that because we're all wearing jackets up here just to take them off after we take pictures or whatever. just goofing around. I was like, I need a jacket like that. I think he's sharp. It's just it's the guy in the suit. Exactly.
Yeah. Remember when he pushed the kid from Missouri this year? Just shoved him.
Man, that feels like forever ago. Doesn't
Yeah.
it?
And him and Dennis Gates were into it. I was talking to Ellis about this earlier. We were talking about the Bill Self and Jerome Tang beef. I don't know if you saw that or not, but Jerome Tang did a flyby on him in the handshake line, and it ticked Bill Self off. So that was a little bit awkward. But we were talking about just kind of the most outrageous coaches with some of that stuff. And I like Juwan Howard, obviously, because he put his hands on the guy.
Yeah.
But I remember being at the last time I was in Nashville for the SEC tournament. Alabama won. They beat LSU, and it was at the end of that emotional game. And you see Nate Oates, and he's pointing out Will Wade and LSU and say, "Get the out of here!"
Yeah.
Like he's just
remember that for
throwing
sure.
those. I was like, "Dang, man!"
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. So he gets a little heated, and he's not as animated and demonstrative maybe as Muss appears, but he's every bit as much of a SOB when it comes to the way he acts out there, man.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why it's such an interesting coaching matchup. It's just two guys that are so fiery and I guess you could say passionate.
That's a good word.
Toward the officials and
yeah.
sometimes toward players who don't win SEC games.
Do you give? Yes, I was hoping that was coming. For those who are wondering, that is Missouri's Farmer's Tan of a Ken Pompage. They have one more game against whom?
LSU. At LSU.
That's what's standing between them and 08 and 18 in SEC play, which is boy, that's tough.
That would be the most impressive thing that's been done in the SEC all season.
I agree. And I talked to a Missouri legend last night about Dennis Gates and his future if they go 0-18. He tells me he's going to get another year. So,
wow, they're getting soft over there, huh?
Yeah. Shout out to Bob Holt for that. So we'll see. What do we give Arkansas in terms of chances at Alabama, or what are we expecting maybe from this game?
Competitive 5 to 7 point loss.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too. I don't expect them to go in there and win. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be floored. But I definitely don't expect it to happen. But I think that we're to the point where we should expect Arkansas to go and play a competitive game against those guys.
I agree with that. And what gives me a little bit of optimism that they'll compete, and I don't think it's not out of the realm of possibility that they go in there and win. It's just they could just embrace the spoiler role again. Last 6 games, Arkansas's offensive rating 119, 96th percentile. The issue is your defensive rating is 115, which is in the 7th percentile. Not great, but your free throw attempt rate, the last 6 games is in the 100th percentile. Fast break points, 98th percentile. Points per game, 99th percentile. You're playing good ball offensively.
Yeah.
This game is legitimately going to come down to which bad defensive team can get more stops, or it might just come down to who misses last.
True. Yeah, very true. Arkansas, and we were very critical of this team after the Vanderbilt game, and rightfully so. There is zero excuse for losing to that Vanderbilt team at Bud Walton Arena. None.
Yeah.
But Muss is right. Outside of the middle stretch of that game, Arkansas has been playing really good basketball since that ass whooping against Tennessee.
Yep.
Like, they've been playing really well. And like you said, like, it hasn't always shown up in the wins and losses, like at Mississippi State, at Kentucky, but they've been playing like a team that's connected and like a team that, is pretty good. They look like a good team.
Literally had a chance to win, like, how many of their last games? LSU, Kentucky, Vandy, Missouri, A&M, Mississippi State. You've had a chance to win, what is that, 7 games?
Yeah.
7 games. Like, that's a far cry from when you were going on the road to Ole Miss and just
getting blasted.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like you were out there, like, your water bottles were full of vodka waters.
Right. Shoot.
It was just a
if
mess.
I had to watch another one of those, mine would have been brutal, man.
One more number from CBB Analytics. Last 6 games, pace, 71.6 possessions per game, 96th percentile.
Good.
Play
Love
fast.
that.
Cut them loose.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, let them play with some freedom and some pace. That's good stuff. Unfortunately, even though they took care of business last night, so did Texas A&M, which means Wednesday sadness is a lock. But we've been looking at, dude, the amount of numbers and different scenarios we've been crunching before recording this, just to see what Arkansas's path in the SEC tournament might look like, because it's a lot easier to look at now, I guess, because there's only one game left.
Yeah.
There's only so many dominoes that could fall in either direction. Arkansas is either going to be the 12 seed or the 11. And the interesting thing about it is, if you take a look at the SEC standings right now, you have a 4-way tie between, who is it? Auburn, Alabama, Kentucky, and South Carolina, all at 12 and 5. And it's really important for Arkansas how that shakes out, because chances are you're going to see one of those teams early in the SEC tournament, assuming you win your Wednesday game.
Like, you win your first game regardless of what seed you are. You're playing a 5 or a 6.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we did this together. It was a wild ride. I had to write stuff down because my brain was melting.
Yes.
I've got a bullet point here. I'm just going to read it so I don't screw anything up, and we don't have another scenario like on the last pod where I put in what we thought was going to happen. It was like error.
Yeah. Oops.
What has to happen for Arkansas to be an 11 seed? Okay. There's got 4 things, maybe a little bit more than 4 things. Arkansas wins at Alabama.
Yep.
Ole Miss beats Texas A&M. Mississippi State beats South Carolina. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are both at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else that day has to go chalk.
Yeah.
So that would be Auburn beating Georgia at home, LSU beating Missouri at home, Tennessee beating Kentucky at home, and then Florida beating Vanderbilt, which they should if they're a serious operation. That would have Arkansas playing, if those things happen, that would have Arkansas playing Missouri in the late game Wednesday, and then Florida would be next.
Give me that.
And then after that, on Friday, potentially, South Carolina.
Yeah, that is what you want, people.
So
that is the path
that
you want.
scenario right there is what, like, obviously you want Arkansas to win on Saturday, but you need to pull for the things that I just said.
Right.
You get an 11. You got to wait around all day on Wednesday. Eric would call it another quick turnaround.
He definitely would do that.
Arkansas loses on Saturday at Alabama, and everything else goes like I just mentioned. You get Vandy first in the opening game Wednesday.
Great.
Kentucky on Thursday. That's not what you want.
Nah.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, okay, so what if Arkansas loses at Alabama on Saturday? I got you.
Okay.
You need Auburn to beat Georgia.
Yep.
You need LSU to beat Missouri.
Okay.
You need A&M to beat Ole Miss.
Okay.
You need South Carolina to beat Mississippi State.
Reasonable.
You need Kentucky to win at Tennessee. Doable.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee's just playing to put the cherry on top, I think, right?
Yep.
And then you need Florida to beat Vanderbilt. That would have Arkansas as a 12 seed against 13 seed Vandy. Potential second game, South Carolina.
There we go.
Waiting on Friday, Auburn.
Okay.
Don't hate it.
I don't either. I think any scenario for Arkansas that involves not playing Kentucky on Thursday is ideal.
Yeah.
Probably. Sign me up for that.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds crazy because Arkansas's played Kentucky twice now and had a chance to beat them in both of those games. And we were talking about it before football practice today. And like on one hand, you look at it and you go, well, it sure is hard to beat a team 3 times in a year. So maybe you like Arkansas's chances. But I don't know if I like Arkansas's chances of being in another dogfight with Kentucky. Like I just,
and it's not going to be it's not going to be a neutral game either.
No, it's
like
not.
It's going to be.
They're the only place that travels to Nashville for the SEC tournament.
Blue down there.
Yep. I would not like that game a third time. Not at all.
I wouldn't either. I don't think it would be close.
No, I don't either. God, I hope they make it to at least Friday. Just so we can hang out in Nashville a little bit longer.
That would be something, wouldn't it?
It would be something.
Yeah. I told you last night when you were struggling with your phone and your laptop and stuff, and I'm writing and that playlist was going. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is getting me in the mood to walk down Broadway, hear some music, find a karaoke bar.
Love that.
In Nashville. I'm ready.
Absolutely love that. Content, as John would say.
Yeah. Do it for content. Just stick our logo on it.
Yeah, make sure you put the watermark on that. Yeah. Somebody
Maybe
steals
I'll get up there and sing Arkansas by Chris Stapleton.
There we go. There we go.
About that.
I would stand up there and hum a little harmony in the background for you.
Hype man.
Yeah. Oh, a big time hype man for sure. For sure. Oh, brother. Okay. Well, I think we've done it. Anything else?
No. This season has been tough to cover. It's been really enjoyable doing this, though. Still with you, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
It's wild that the season's just winding down, man.
I know.
It's pretty wild.
I know.
I'm not getting emotional as we've still got some of these to do, but
yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's been fun doing this.
Yeah, it's been a blast, man. Really enjoying it, and I know that we're both going to enjoy it a lot more when this team is better, and hopefully we get a little bit more joy from this season. But then next year maybe they'll turn this thing around, and the Pod at the Palace will live on in the off season. It's just going to take on a different life, which is going to involve a lot of what's going on behind you, and
the pod in the portal.
The portal, yeah, the portal of the palace. I don't know,
portal at the palace.
Portal at the palace, and my experience from the last few portal seasons is that it's very much a love-hate relationship that I have with that thing because it is thrilling and exciting.
Have your phone overheating,
and it'll blow your mind and your electronics up at the same time. So we'll enjoy it.
We will.
Dude, all right. Well, we're out of here, people, and we'll see how Arkansas fares. Early tip, okay, so it's an 11 a.m. tip. I have no idea what channel that game is on. I actually don't care because we'll find it, and you can hop on the live stream with us because we will be doing that here at Natty State Sports.
ESPN.
Cool.
The main.
On the network, fellas.
On the main.
So make sure that you tune in and rock with us for that, and then, afterwards we'll see y'all in Nashville. We're looking forward to it. If anybody's going down to Nashville, make sure you slide in the DMs or in the comments and let us know.
Yeah.
We'd like to meet some folks.
I haven't had anybody slide in my DMs since my wife.
Really?
Yeah.
I slid in my wife's DMs.
Did you?
Yeah.
Shout out to us.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Shout out to us, man. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody for listening.
Perfect time to end it.
Yeah, perfect time to end it. And we will catch you guys very soon. For Scottie Bordelon, it's been Curtis Wilkerson with Natty State Sports. Goodbye.